Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I'm recording a video after such a long time and it actually feels great. So now to begin with, this is not a clickbait. The title might give that vibe though. But I actually had a total of 3 weeks to prepare and give my interviews. And actually it would not be wrong to say that effectively it was less than 3 weeks because some days I just had to skip preparation due to all the full-time job and other projects and all. But I guess that time is not really quantifiable. I don't have the track of the days I did not do anything. So yeah, we can assume that my preparation was actually for 3 weeks, and I'll be just sharing facts in this video, my prep, some tips from my experience, and maybe after the video answer your questions in the comment section. But yeah, so there are no clickbaits, no gimmicks, or no promotions in this video, just my experience. So without any further ado, let's get started with the video. I guess I would like to begin by addressing the most important issue. Yeah, so a lot of people are just scared or intimidated by the hiring process, specifically Google's hiring process. And I guess that is because Google is dream company for a lot of people, and there has been that notion that the interview process for Google is really tough. They ask questions which you don't find anywhere, so they are definitely completely new questions which you have to solve on the spot, and you have less time and you don't have a code editor, so you have to be mindful about the syntax and everything. So I think people get intimidated by it, but what I would like to say is that try to be calm. Now I know that it is easier said than done, but just keep in mind that it's nothing more than an interview or a hiring process. You have already given, you have already started for hiring process for multiple companies, and Google is just another company, maybe offering a little better compensation and more benefits, but then it is nothing very different from what you have already done. So just try to enjoy the process when you're preparing for Google. Now, why am I stressing on trying to enjoy the process and remaining cool? Because see, offer or rejection will depend on a lot of factors. It will depend on the mood of the interviewer, your temperament at that time, and all those things. But just the fact that you gave your best will be satisfying. Obviously, after a few hours of feeling sad in case you get rejected, but yeah, ultimately, when you know that there'll be no regret, that you gave your best, you tried your best, you prepared for it, but certain unprecedented or inevitable reasons you couldn't make it, you'll be satisfied you gave your best. So yeah, so just keep that in mind while you're preparing and appearing for the interviews, and also keep in mind that I'm pretty sure you are already ahead of me. See, I say this because I had never done lead code before this. Now, when I say this, people think that I'm being pretentious, but hear me out, guys. I never liked the idea of mindlessly solving questions for the sake of job. But then back in college, I was into competitive programming. That too because we had a that culture in college and the rush you used to get because you used to see your friends on the leaderboard, everyone competing, and it used to be amazing. So not doing lead code didn't really affect me because I had that experience of DSA and solving questions in time. But now I had no option because giving 3 hour contest is just impossible, and doing virtual contest is more or less like lead code because it's not live contest or you don't see your friends and all there. And yeah, so I had no option but to push myself and do lead code, which was tough for me because it takes time to get into that mindset. And if you have already been doing lead code and you already have that mindset, then probably you're already ahead of me. Now, I think that's all for the free ka gyan. But moving on to the process. So Very first thing will be a call from your recruiter. So recruiters generally schedule this call to give you a detailed overview of the process and what are the things they are looking for, what are the evaluation parameters and everything. And I have discussed about this call or the details of this call in another video. So I'll skip that. You can probably find the link to that video above and you can watch that video as well. Now, after the call, you'll be getting a mail loaded with prep material, blogs, and videos. So, the second thing is the mail with resources. I cannot stress enough how important or mandatory it is to skim through every single resource. Now, I went through all the material just a few days before the interviews, but I highly recommend you to go through it before starting your preparation. You will get a lot of pointers on how to prepare as well. Now, in the mail you're going to find blogs and you're going to find the style guide, you're going to find interviews, mock interviews and everything. So go through those style guides, read Stevie's blog, see all the dummy interviews. Now it is going to be a daunting task because they will share a plethora of resources and you will see that there is just so much repetition. But trust me, between these boulders of repetition there's a lot of gold hidden, and all those important things or the hidden gold will actually motivate you to prepare, will actually help you in preparing, and it will also give you very good pointers for your interview process and for the preparation part. So just for instance, there's a YouTube video where the person talks about how many questions one should solve before the interview. So he says that it does not matter if you solve 100 or 400 questions. What matters is that what did you learn when you went from 395 to 400. Now you need to see how were you better, what was your learning when you went from this 395 to 400. If your starting and final state is same, then even 395 questions were as good as 400 questions, which makes a lot of sense, right? Because practicing should have increased your muscle memory or your speed to identify and code your logic, or it should have taught you a new concept. If none of the things happened in going from 395 to 400, then I think 395 was sufficient. You shouldn't have solved those extra 5 questions. Once you kind of hear this thing, and if you're able to appreciate what he's trying to say, you'll consciously start recording these observations after every 5 questions, and you will see that your preparation would have become 100x more effective. Because when you consciously start thinking that what did I learn in these 5 questions, what were my learnings, did I learn a concept, did I increase my speed, did I create some muscle memory. Because now that you have pointed out that this is my learning, it will be much easier to retain that learning and try and applying that learning later. So I wish I knew this earlier, so that's why I highly recommend going through all this material before your preparation. Now, this is something I feel is mandatory, but after this point, I'll be sharing my roadmap or the things I did. So, it is nothing mandatory like above, it was just the way I practiced. So, you can do it your way too. I mean, and if you like the way I prepared, maybe you can just follow that as well. So, the next thing would be preparation. So, first, I wanted a glimpse of the level and the type of questions that are generally asked. Because, as I said, I had not interviewed for almost like 2 3 years, and I had never interviewed for Google. So, for that, I bought the Lead Code Premium and went through all the questions by Google. Now, before premium, I obviously tried a few free alternatives, but it was just too much hassle. So I bought the 1 month subscription to save time, and then I opened the curated list for Google interview. And now people say that curated list is actually random and it is not actually questions from Google. Uh, that might be true, but anyways, my interview was much simpler than the list. So even if that list is does not give you a correct idea, the list will prepare you for the worst. So I don't think you'll get anything which is uh, much more difficult than the questions in the list. So if you're following the list, I think you're well prepared for your interviews. So I took the premium subscription and opened that curated list, and I sorted the questions by frequency and started solving the top most asked questions. So after doing that, I kind of got an idea of what is being asked in the interviews, and as per my analysis, it was mostly DP, graph, prefix sum, and binary search problems. Now you might say that I just told everything that exists, but it is what it is. So can't help it there. Uh, so I think the first step in my preparation was to solve the curated list for Google. Now, solve the curated list, I do not mean that I solved the complete list. Obviously, I solved few most frequently asked questions, and I also analyzed and got an idea of like what things are being asked and what are the areas I need to work on, or the areas I'm lacking in. So after solving a few questions, I got a clear idea. Now I started picking these areas one by one, the areas which I felt I need to work more on, and started doing problems from these areas regardless of whether they were asked in Google before or not. So I opened topic wise list and I sorted in descending order of level and started solving hard and medium problems. I skipped the easy ones, and I guess the recruiters also stress a lot that nobody is going to ask easy questions in the interview. So yeah, that's why I skipped them. It was a nice practice. I learned a lot of things as I was solving. So I also skipped the problems which had a very high dislike count, because that implied the question is weird, and it made no sense to uh, do these weird questions, because there are 1,000 more questions that are waiting to be solved. So it makes sense to actually solve a good question which would help me learn anything. Solving these weird questions did not made a lot of sense to me, so I skipped them. Now I've not actually seen how many questions I solved and how many out of these from the ones from the total pool of questions I saw, how many I actually coded and not just read the solution. But I tried to stick to an area until I was confident enough that I'll be able to solve medium and to slightly hard problems. As we discussed earlier, number doesn't even matter. It should be as much as you can without any stress. It makes sense to keep trying for that topic till you are really comfortable with that topic, right? So that's what I did. But I guess if I have to give a number, then what I feel is that if you have 1 month and if you're solving 5 questions every day, and within these 5 questions you learn something new, uh, every 5 questions you're learning something new, so that is kind of you having some learning every day. So if you're learning something new for continuous 30 days, I guess you'll have enough tips and tricks, and you'll have enough muscle memory, and kind of you'll build that cognitive you'll build that problem solving thinking of how to approach a particular type of question and what are the possible solutions. So I guess if you're doing that for 30 days, you'll be more than ready for the interviews. Now, so I'll just note that point as well. uh, Solving topic wise questions. Now there's another thing which I did was I also watched a lot of videos made by Tushar Roy. So there's a channel Coding Made Simple by Tushar Roy which has some amazing videos, and I watched his videos on segment tree, range query, and pattern matching, which includes KMP and Rabin Cap and all those, and some graph algorithms like Bellman Ford and Floyd Fulkerson. So he has a really amazing channel which explains these concepts, and he also explains you the complexities, and also towards the end explain the a working code. So I guess that's another thing which I did. So coding made simple. Now the only thing left is high level design after all this DSA, because L4 they do not really ask LL. My recruiter specifically told me that they do not ask LLD for L4 level. So coming to HLD, my recruiter stressed a lot that there might be a HLD round, but based on lead code experiences, I concluded that it is always DSA for L4. It is I did not find a single interview with high level design round. But again, I didn't want to disappoint my recruiter, so I kept a day for HLD as well. I did the bare minimum, and my plan was to use my actual development experience to tackle HLD question if I got any. But yeah, there was no HLD round for me, so I guess keeping just one day was a good decision. And the resource I used was the one shared by my recruiter. There will be a link to a blog that has the preparation material for high level design, and it'll be in the same mail that we were discussing in the beginning. So I guess you can follow that resource for high level design. So HLD blog shared in mail. So yeah, that's about it. This was kind of the overview of the preparation of the roadmap that I followed, and I guess if you also follow this, then 3 weeks, 1 month should be more than sufficient. And I don't think if I would have gotten more time, I would have prepared more, because like after 1 month, I was like, I can't solve more lead code now. So yeah, so that's about it. If you still have questions, the comment section is always open. Flood it with your questions, and I'll try to answer as much as possible. Cool then. See you in the next video, guys. Till then, take care and keep learning.